Matt.
Kip, can you hear me, bro?
I sure can, man. How are you?
Great. Fantastic. Here in a minute, I'm going to mute everybody other than me, you, and Clay. I just want to make sure this is all working.
Dude, there's no way you're going to be able to do that.
Can't I?
Of course you can. I'm just saying you can't figure it out, man. There's no way.
Well, I know. I need to learn. I need to figure it out, though, bro. Like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we'll figure it out.
All right. Hey, thanks for shaving. You look great.
Well, that was Matt Atkinson's recommendation. I thought I'd do it. I'm still wearing green though, so I didn't change yet.
Hey, I got green right here. You can't see it, but I got it right there, man.
I love it. I love it. What's the Kids on the Move?
I don't know if you know them, Todd and Kelsey Omelchuk. They live in Salt Lake, and Kelsey works for Kids on the Move. It's a 501c3 that is involved in various charitable causes in the medical field regarding children. And played in a golf tournament for him to support him a couple of years and got a couple of nice t-shirts out of it.
Oh, awesome. That's
great.
Some
nice people.
So who's done this before? How do I make it so everyone automatically can come in? I'm having to admit everybody manually. Maybe it was in the settings that I screwed that up.
That lady behind you looks a lot smarter. You should ask her.
That's what we're doing here. Dave Lloyd, welcome. Tyler Bennett, welcome. Gay Lloyd, Robert, Rebecca.
I have an issue, period. I'm unavailable at 2:30, but we'll contact you.
Well, so I can mute all.
And then you'll unmute the person who's.
Thank you! Exclamation point.
And everyone, if they want to talk, they should wait for restart. I think there's a button.
So I'm going to experiment with this, and then I want to unmute Kip.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, no offense here, but we're going to have to mute everybody in a minute. Otherwise, it'll be mass chaos. So.
And you could just ask people to mute themselves too when they log on.
Okay, cool.
But they'll go down here. There should be.
All right, Kip, talk again. Let's make sure we can hear you.
I think I know Robert Orgioni.
Record if you want to record.
No, it's recording. Yeah, we're recording.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So people will start filing in here.
Yeah. So if you leave it on mute all, it will stay on mute all, and then you'll just unmute the people who you want to talk at that time, and then if you want to let someone comment, you can.
So everyone can comment here on the side with their chat function in the Zoom group chat. So we'll try and answer questions along the way, and we'll just have to see how this goes. So I'm going to be manually adding people. I don't quite know how to do it otherwise right now. So,
to what?
Well, when they come in.
They're already there.
No, but it's like one person is waiting. I've got to admit them. Hey, next go around, we're going to have this figured out, right? So.
Hey, Matt, you're doing great, man. This happens, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, cool. All right. Nate Worthen, welcome. A fellow friend from the MRED.
Hey, Matt.
John Prince, the Prince. All right, guys. I'm sure people will be lagging on a little later here, so we'll maybe get everyone loaded in and wait 5 minutes and then start it.
Hey, I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, like maybe in like a few minutes, not in an hour. All right, I unmuted everyone for a minute, but I'm going to mute y'all back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, John.
What is up? I'm going to
How's
be
it
on
going?
mute most of the time, just listening because I'm actually driving.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna mute everybody. I'm just gonna kind of leave it open for a minute because it'll be, mass chaos if we let everybody talk.
For sure.
Chris has joined us. This is kind of cool. Anthony Del Vecchio.
Hello, sir.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Very good, thanks. All right, we got people rolling in here.
Thanks for putting this on, Matt.
Yeah, you bet. This will be good. We should wait for Clay. Oh, here he is. We got Clay coming in.
Hey, you know my buddy Joey Furtado, huh?
Yeah, I know Joey.
Yeah, Joey's a good dude. I was in the car business with him for quite some time, several years.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Clay, let's test your audio.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Sweet.
All right, we got people rolling in. This is good. Taylor Sterling, welcome. I'm going to miss a little bit everybody, but here we are rolling in.
Quite
All right.
natural.
Okay, so now we're getting enough people in here. I am going to just unmute Clay, and when Kip comes back in. All right, Clay, you still alive?
Yeah, can you hear
Okay, perfect, perfect.
me?
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Kip, you back in? There we go.
You got me?
Okay, Kip and Clay, we good?
Yep.
We're good.
Okay, let's give it just 4 more minutes here, and then we'll officially get started. We got 34 people, about 100 responded. So, maybe we'll get about half, maybe we'll get 100, maybe we'll get more. So we'll give it 5 more minutes, and then this will be recorded. So we'll share it. David Smith, welcome. There's some high-powered people in this room. This is really good. Brandon Strickland, welcome.
Is this thing on? Question mark.
Who asked that?
Anthony Del Vecchio.
Oh, Anthony. Yes, it's on. I'm going to have to mute everybody, though, just so we can hear everybody. Charles Patton, my man, CXP. Voluntarily mute yourself if you haven't already. Nicole is on. Nicole, thank you so much for helping me get this all set up.
Hey, Matt, tell them where the mute button is.
The mute button is lower left. So mute yourself if you haven't already, if you don't mind. Go through the chat on the side to ask questions or just kind of like, provide input. So, but if you guys all don't mind muting, I'm going to have Clay and Kip both obviously active with me. Maria, welcome. Yeah, look at the controls. There's a way to raise your hand, I think, and ask a question. We'll probably have time for questions here, and then maybe we'll just do them through texting on the chat instead of opening it up. We had people eating and stuff, so we don't want to be hearing any of that. We got to mute everybody. Kip's already going to be loud enough, so we need, All right, 2 more minutes and then we'll start this, and then people as they come can just kind of follow along. Chick-fil-A, huh, John? They're eating Chick-fil-A. Brandon Strickland's eating Chick-fil-A. Harry Payne joining us from far away. Ryan Beck, Patty Royster. We love the Roysters. Veronica, Cody Chamberlain. Cody's a stud. This is great. Brian Pitcher, I agree. Quite the collection of Utah investors.
Brian Pitcher. Hello, Brian Pitcher. I miss you, brother. It's been a while.
Yo, Kip, it has been a long time. It's good to hear your voice, brother.
Good to hear you, man. Everything going okay?
Dude, everything is going great, man. I've been prepping for this for 6 months.
Exactly.
You've been prepping specifically for the coronavirus? Bro, you're amazing.
Dude, my immune system is cranking.
All right, okay. I think we got enough people. We're going to start rolling. Everybody, if your name is not Kip, Matt, or Clay, please mute yourself, and this will be more successful. All right, cool. Everyone, thank you for coming. This is great. The genesis of this for me was, honestly, for me, I was at the Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association on Wednesday of last week, right? And so we're all in there strategizing and talking about, how to be better investors. And just like all of you, you start reading the text, like Rudy Gobert, has coronavirus. All of a sudden the Jazz game's canceled. Next thing you know, we can't travel for 30 days. Next thing you know, it just all of a sudden, last Wednesday felt like the world was coming to an end. And that night I had one of those moments that, unfortunately kind of crept back in from, the last crash where, the anxiety set in, you're a little unsure about what's going on. And I just okay, we're not going to panic. We're going to figure this out. And over the past 3 or 4 days, I've had a lot of calls with a lot of you guys individually or separately. And I just thought, man, there's going to be a need here for continual community support and ideas and sharing and collaboration, especially since, I know us local investors, we are so used to getting together and doing meetups and luncheons, and some of that's just going to be off the table for the next little bit. So I thought this would be a great way to do this. So I have Clay Rockwood. Clay and I have a lot of things in common, but one of them that I really like that we have in common is we both love Rio de Janeiro. We both went there on our missions. So we have that in common. And then Kip Roth. Kip, correct me, Kip, but you used to live in Utah, obviously, for a long time. And Kip now lives in North Carolina, and he runs coaching for Tom Ferry. But Kip was one of the original wholesalers when he was operating under We Buy Houses and Homevestors, right, Kip?
Correct.
So I remember Kip. Kip, just a quick story about Kip. Kip, I immediately respected and admired because his assignment addendum was so transparent and clear. He was not hiding anything from anyone. It was very clear what he was making, what the seller was getting. So I just thought, man, that ultimate transparency, and he just absolutely crushed it, right? And this was back before, Kip was just hustling with his phone, and I don't even know if texting worked back then, right? So
well,
this
it sure as hell didn't work for me.
Yeah. But before we get into this, a couple other thoughts. So I think this is a lucky day, right? It's St. Patrick's Day, but I think this is going to be a lucky year and a lucky month and a lucky time for all of us. And then, I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. I really like Tony Robbins. So one thing I want us to remember, at least I want to remember, is this is all happening for us, not to us, right? I think that's really important to remember is whatever is happening now, this is actually happening for us. It's going to provide us with awesome opportunities, new insights, new capabilities that we can grow from. I am super stoked. As maybe anxious as I was last Thursday morning, I have new energy and new excitement that, and I've already learned new things in the last 24 hours. So I'm like, this is going to be great. So what we're going to do now is just kind of jump right into it. And so Clay, you guys all know Clay. I introduce him a little bit better. And Clay, you fill in as well. But I've admired Clay. I've really seen how he's grown his wholesaling business. has awesome character, and he's very supportive. He's always giving back. Him and Brian do a bunch of luncheons and stuff to add value. So I thought to start, Clay and Kip would be two awesome people to have on the call. And, from here, we'll just see where it goes. There's so many topics we could cover. And so if it's worth doing, more in the future, we're going to do them. We'll get, different panel people on, or, this is going to be kind of an evolving thing. But maybe we'll start with Clay. Clay, why don't you kind of give your kind of current mindset, your kind of state of the union for Clay Rockwood and Utah house buyers, and then we'll dive into some questions. And then after you go, I'll have Kip kind of do the same thing.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Matt, for putting this together. So yeah, we just had a team meeting. We've got a big team here in Utah that focuses on wholesaling primarily. And I guess my first gut reaction here to everything that's going on is to avoid your gut reaction, really, because I think that most people's gut reaction is to pull back and shrink, right? But from what I've learned in my experience the last 12 years and going through the last crisis, is that you have to do the opposite. You have to lean in. You really have to lean into your business and you kind of go against the grain, honestly. I mean, counteract the fear, counteract all the negative, feedback that we're getting from news outlets and things like that. And personally, that's what we're doing in our business. We're literally upping our marketing budget. We're going on more appointments. We're talking to more sellers, because what you start realizing is that there's actually a need out there in the market. And that's what I think is we'll start seeing over the next few weeks, especially as sellers, as they're panicking, as people are panicking about their investments, what's going to happen with the market. They're going to start offloading properties, or they're going to start taking higher discounts. And you want to be the person that's there to help them in that problem. I mean, that's kind of our number one goal is helping people out of bad situations. So I just think there's going to be more opportunities to help people out of bad situations, whether it's a realistic situation or it's a self-imposed situation that they impose upon themselves. I am trying to position my team and myself to be able to help more people. So that's going to be, like I said, it's upping our marketing. It's talking to more people. It's digging in and doing more. So that's kind of my opening statement, I'd say is don't shrink back, but really lean into what's happening and find opportunities to go out and help people. And as you do that, you're going to have success.
That's awesome, man. Those are great. We're going to drill down on all of those. Kip.
Mindset. Clay nailed it. It's really simple. In every challenging time, in every challenging market, somebody steps up. Somebody steps up and leads, and somebody steps up and wins. And the question is, you want that to be you. I mean, I'm a real estate coach. I've got clients nationally, 40-something clients that ever since this hit the fan, I've been talking to them about the conditions in markets nationwide. And this presents a massive opportunity. It's the same opportunity that was 2008. I did exactly what Clay did in 2008. 2008 was my biggest year as a wholesaler. I flipped 38 houses, but by the end of the year, I was having a difficult time getting deals because the equity was disappearing. So I doubled down. I got my real estate license, increased my marketing budget to $10,000 a month, and just crushed it. Never looked back. It's mindset. This is a massive opportunity that we're presented with. And really cool thing about it is finite. In 2008, man, we didn't know what was going to happen. Lehman Brothers goes under one day, and a little while later, GM goes sideways, and we didn't know where the end was going to be. We hoped it was out there somewhere, but we didn't know when. But this is finite. This is 2020 tops. This is probably 90, 120 days of disruption. And you got to step into that and take full advantage of it, because so much of this industry is going to be fetal position under their desk because they don't know what to do. And they're going to leave a massive vacuum of opportunity. So I'm stepping into it and having all my clients do the same.
Call over. Thanks for coming, guys. I'm just kidding. Kip, that was awesome. That was awesome. So that, one thing that we're going to share this. So I'm kind of creating a Google Docs, like resources from this call. And one of them was exactly along the lines of what Kip and Clay were both talking about. So I also love Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy produces some really good material, and he was talking about this specific thing today. And I'm going to share this with you. It's a 20-minute YouTube video. So leaders are born in times of crisis, right? Without the trials, we would not know the names of any leaders, right? Like, so what Kip said is so true, and what Clay said. We've got to lean into this opportunity and seize the moment. And so what we're going to talk about now is, why don't we, maybe Clay, let's go back to you. We'll just kind of keep going in order.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned some of the things that your team's doing. Maybe just drill down a little bit more specifically on what are you guys doing differently today that maybe you weren't doing a week ago? And some of them I'm sure are fundamentals, but like just drill down a little deeper.
Yeah, that's a great question. For us specifically, I mean, we're trying to understand our target market, right? So we market heavily to sellers, right? People that may want to sell their property. So we're trying to get in the mind, okay, at this point in time, where are sellers currently? Well, a lot of them aren't working. They're at home with their families. They're going to be online, on Facebook, you know, on doing pay-per-click, all that kind of stuff. So we're beefing up our marketing efforts online. Pay-per-click, Facebook ads, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we do heavy marketing in all different sectors, in direct mail, cold calling, texting, you know, ringless voicemails, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to be where the sellers are. That's kind of one thing we're doing as far as the marketing efforts. And again, we're coaching our acquisition team to be sensitive to, again, current market conditions and what's going on in the seller's minds, right? Again, Kip nailed it on the head with the mindset. You have to understand, get your mind in the right place, but also understand the mindset of those that you're interacting with. So again, we're trying to get in front of people that you know, may have just lost a job, or they're out of work for the next month, you know, now they need to sell a property. Well, let's find those people and let's appeal to them and help them out of that situation. And we want to, again, like Kip said, we want to be the ones to talk to them. You know, I want to be the one to be the first point of contact for those people, to help them out of that bad situation. So again, I think for us, we're just trying to adapt to the situation. Again, not react in a gut reaction type of way, but to really understand, okay, what's happening, what's going through people's minds, how can we capitalize on that, not to just, you know, benefit ourselves, but to make it a win-win situation for us and for them. Where again, most investors they're just saying, oh, I'm going to stop my marketing. I don't know if I'm going to have cash in a month, or if there's going to be deal flow, all that kind of stuff. There's going to be deal flow. You just have to be the one to create it and find it. And yeah, that's what I'd recommend.
Awesome. So don't slow down, redirect, reallocate your resources, but don't slow down.
Yep, exactly. That's, I think, where people get killed, is when they slow down. Obviously, if you cut your budget back, you stop calling people, you start marketing, well, the deals are going to stop, obviously. So it's almost this negative feedback loop that you're creating, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, the market's crashing, so I'm going to stop. Well, of course, you're not going to have any deal flow. You're not going to have any money because you're stopping. So it's just, you have to do the opposite.
What you do today, you'll be seeing the results in 3 to 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and an important thing I think to note is that it may not be easy, right? I mean, that's a funny thing I observed during the 2008 crash, is a lot of guys are like, oh man, it was so nice back in 2006, 2007. I would just golf all day. My phone is ringing off the hook. I didn't even have to try to get deals, and they just fell in my lap. Now I actually have to go to work. It's like, holy crap, what a revelation. You have to work.
Yeah.
And I've been working, 40 hours a week for the last 5 years. It's just, I work. That's what I'm here to do, is to provide for my family, right? So if you're not willing to go out and do the work, then you're not going to have success, right? So I think it's gonna take, again, some mindset shift, because a lot of people are so used to just the ease of, oh, I put a flip on the market, it sells for 30 grand over asking prices. This is great. Life's easy. So again, it just hunker down, get back to your core values, figure out your why, and go to work, and you're going to have success.
I love it. Sharpen your axe. Kip, what are you or your clients doing differently today?
Mitigate and communicate. You succeed in this business by running the plays that work over and over and over again. You perfect those plays that work. And so what I'm having my clients do, and what I've done in my business, is look at what's working and figure out what's not working. What's not working, get rid of it. That's the mitigation aspect, because things have changed. Okay, you can't door knock, right? You're going to piss somebody off. You can't do open houses. If you're a licensee, you can't do open houses without making some people angry in some markets. Okay, so you mitigate and then you communicate. And for communication, we came up with essentially a 4-step process. The first thing is mindset. As I said before, I'm working really hard with my clients on their mindsets. I'm prohibiting them from saying the word coronavirus, the word fear, hysteria, or panic. When they're communicating with their clients, they want to communicate with their clients in such a way that gets the client to do what they want them to do. And you're not going to get anybody to act out of fear. So lose those words altogether. And when you're speaking with your clients, you need to kind of be like Mother Teresa, like empathetic listening. They're going to throw all this pain and fear and stuff at you when you're talking to them about their situation. You want to be very empathetic, but you don't want to give it space. You don't want to make the fear, the panic, the hysteria live. You want to redirect them to where you need them to go to solve their problem. And as far as the communication goes, I'm having my people immediately communicate with everybody that they are in a deal with now, whether buyers or sellers, because people, when they go sideways, they get scared, they go quiet. Okay, reach out to everybody you're involved with the deal with right this minute. The second group of people you want to reach out to and communicate with are what I call my close me nows. So when I prospect and somebody raises their hand and they say, I want to do something within the next 12 months, I put them up on a dry erase board. And I want them up in visual so I can keep in front of my mind, all right? When I'm sitting there on board, I'll glance up at that board and I'll figure out a way to move that guy further down the pipe to make sure I get that business. I'm calling every single one of those people, every single one. And I'm going to be the information broker. I'm going to be the information investor. I'm going to answer their questions. I'm going to reassure them, make sure we're still on schedule or if we can't move it up. And I'm not going to let them out of my sight. The third group of people I'm going to talk to are my database. When I started doing real estate investing, I did a lot of direct mail and billboard and whatnot. I developed a 1,500 name database of potential sellers and I dripped on them. Okay, because they're either going to list or they're either going to sell to me directly at some point. 10% of them is the statistical certainty. 10% a year are going to do something. All right, so I'm going to drip on those people, but not in a sales capacity. I'm going to drip on them from a service capacity. I'm going to get a hold of them and I'm going to say, hey, you guys have been really, really good to me over the years, and I just want to reach out and see if there's anything I can do to help you. All right, so communication is key in an environment like this because this is where you build your brand. This is where you capture market share, because the guys who stop marketing, like Clay said, they're out of business. All right. And they're leaving an opportunity, a vacuum of opportunity. I mean, the worst day in this business is the day you realize you can't buy any more houses. All right. So stopping your marketing is death. Don't do it. This is an incredible opportunity. And the last thing I want to say about this is I'm having my people focus on the next 90 days in particular, because it's just, it might be one of the best opportunities of their entire careers, because we've been working together on their model, on their mindset, on their marketing, on their skills, and on their systems. This is the moment they've been preparing for. Yeah. It's like Brian Pilcher said earlier, I've been preparing for this for however many months. Well, in my business, my clients, we've been preparing for it too. These guys are poised at the starting line and they're ready to take advantage of this opportunity when everybody else turtles. And Diane asked a question. I'm sorry, Dane. Excuse me, Dane. If I don't have my glasses on, is that Diane or Dane? But Dane, I think, asked, crushed it in what way? Doubled down on marketing. Were your exit strategies the same? Let me answer that really quickly.
Please.
What was cool about 2008 was it's forced change. It's forced learning. We either learn voluntarily or we learn by being forced. And forced learning is painful. Okay, that's why so many people run away from it and they leave the market. Okay, but what I learned in 2008 was if all I had on my tool belt was a low ball cash offer, I was a dead man. Okay, that's why I immediately ran out and got licensed. And then I went to Randall Wall and Matt Atkinson and people like you, and I learned how to do seller finance. And then I learned how to do subject to. And then I learned how to do option contracts. And then I learned how to do lease options. Okay, so instead of walking into somebody's house with one tool on my tool belt, I walked in with 5. All right, so I hope that answers Dane's question. No, I crushed it because, for example, January 1, 2009 to July 1, 2009, I listed 90 short sales. Okay, and I just took those and I dumped them on a law firm, and I told them if I ever had to talk to those people again, I was going to fire them, and I walked away. And they closed those deals for me and sent me checks, and I kept that mill going while I started other exit strategies and other sources of income. So yeah, sit down, mitigate, figure out what's working, figure out what the plays are that you can run over and over, expand your capacity expand your tool belt, and then communicate your face off, because that's how you're going to build your brand, by serving as many people as possible.
Kip, holy cow. Clay, those are just awesome recommendations. Don't fuel the panic, fuel the calm, right? This fear is normal, but you have to face it and make a positive decision, and then create your own reality. So I love those suggestions. One thing I've been thinking is, like, all you wholesalers that do such an amazing job, Clay and Brian, Jason, Cody Hoffine, I mean, the list goes on and on, Dane, the list goes on and on, but your business model can adapt so well. Like, what a lot of people didn't experience that are new investors is what Kip just talked about with short sales, right? Like, your whole business model, your whole thing that you're doing in, going direct to sellers, going direct to, having your buyers list and stuff, man, if things change, you just adapt quickly, and then it's a short sale game instead of an equity game, right? Like, so this is going to transition to the next question, and you guys kind of answered this, but maybe be a little bit more specific, Clay. And this is going to piggyback off of what Kip just talked about. So you're going in now, let's just assume there's a world where, guys like me, hard money lenders, cash, like, doesn't exist for your buyers to buy houses. And maybe 2 weeks ago, a seller was going to be super hesitant to consider a seller financing. What I'm hearing from you guys is this is a great opportunity because the game has changed. And so what ways now, given how the mindset of everybody, sellers, buyers, everything has changed, like, what's a couple new tools, Clay, that you guys are working on getting better at? Like, what are those plays that, maybe you haven't been using in your playbook that you're going to start trying to run more and more and more that are different than maybe, last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think Kip hit the nail on the head with subject to seller finance. That's huge. I mean, a lot of people are scared by that because they don't understand it, right? But it's actually a lot simpler than you really think it is. But yeah, I mean, we've actually been transitioning before this whole thing broke out, honestly, into more seller finance, subject to, wraparound mortgages, all these different things that you can do, lease options, because again, it's just another tool. If a seller says, I don't want a cash offer, you guys are just, scumbags trying to steal my equity, all this kind of stuff, say, well, great, well, we'll give you what you want, but will you take payments over time, right? So it's just, again, not walking away, but coming up with alternative possibilities and solutions for sellers. That's really what it is. I mean, there's always a solution. If someone calls you, or there's a person that wants to sell, there is a solution to what they want. You just have to discover what that is. Yeah. Whether that's a cash offer, seller finance. Hey, you want to stay in the home for 3 months, 6 months? We can make that work. It's just being open to opportunities and other ways to structure deals. And again, a lot of that just comes with learning, with time, and with mentorship, right? So go out and find a mentor that can help you do that.
No, that's awesome. And then on the other end, I regularly get a lot of calls and texts, but they've kind of increased a little bit with the urgency from my end as far as, are you guys still funding deals? The answer is yes. We are maybe looking to be slightly more conservative than we have in the past, right? Which makes sense. And, just like sellers have fears, rehabbers have fears, also my investors, have fears, right? So there is a little bit of a transition period to kind of get everybody on the same mindset. But let's say, Clay, you're putting out a property today and that rehabber, that buyer has fears about having the money to do it. How can you put together, the strategy of subject to or seller finance with getting the seller on board with that to also making the sale, to the rehabber? Like, what are you doing to bridge that gap or sell that concept versus just a traditional cash or hard money deal?
I mean, it has to be a win-win situation for both parties, right? So if you look at it, hey, if this investor is going to go get a hard money loan versus, buying this on a seller finance, is it going to save him more money or make more sense, right? And usually the answer has to be yes. It has to be a good deal. So, I mean, that's how we look at all of our deals. It has to be a good deal. The underlying, whole process, if you look at it from beginning to end, it has to make sense. So that's the first thing is you have to buy right. And that's kind of what we focus on. We'll pass up on a lot of deals or a lot of opportunities because no matter how you look at it, the numbers don't make sense, right? I mean, the numbers have to make sense at the end of the day. But I would say for our investors that buy a lot of our deals, we structure it in a way to where, again, what do you need out of this? Well, I want to be able to put as little money down as possible, right? I have 20,000 to put down or something. Okay, well then we go structure it with the seller. Hey, we can put 20,000 down. So understanding the needs of both sides, and
Perfect.
That's kind of how that's basically our job, is bridging that gap and making it a situation that'll work for them and where we can still get paid, right?
Perfect.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, and it kind of reinforces what Kip was saying, and then we'll move to Kip and maybe have him answer this. I feel like he already did, but maybe a little bit more specific. But communication, right? Like communication on all sides, with everybody you're working with is gonna win a lot of games here. Kip, anything to kind of drill down and expand on from what Clay was saying there, as it might relate to just like a specific tip,
Sure.
in the game of wholesaling, and then we'll move on to kind of the rehabber mindset right now.
Okay. When I was humping houses in Salt Lake, I was dropping anywhere minimum $5,000 a month in marketing to, at one point, 12 grand a month in marketing. And it ain't easy to sleep at night when you're doing that. And you're paying heaps for leads. And whether you're paying that kind of money or you're doing sweat equity and you're out there banging doors, driving streets, networking at Slaria or whatever, I mean, we're busting our asses for leads.
Yeah.
All right. And anytime, you cannot rely on one exit strategy. I learned that the hard way, 2005, 6, 7, and all of 8, all I have is a low ball cash offer. And I felt like a Subway sandwich shop that only sold ham sandwiches. If somebody wanted a turkey sandwich, I had to send them to Quiznos. I mean,
Right.
I could walk in, make a low ball offer and walk out. And it's only when I got licensed and began adding tools to my tool belt that I really started to understand this business. And this business is about service. Okay, if your mindset is service, you're going to do so much more business than you will if your mindset is a fixed zero-sum game approach. Because when I walk into a house, my goal is to help that person any way I can. And oftentimes the best advice I can give them is don't sell.
Yeah.
But if you come from there, people can tell when you're full of shit. Okay. People can tell when you're honest. People can tell when you're blowing smoke at them, and they can tell when you're really there to serve. And when I could walk into a house with 4 or 5 tools on my tool belt and go through every single one of them and work interactively with the seller to choose the best one for them, and that's when it got fun. Because then you're feeling a whole lot better about what you do for a living. You're helping a whole lot more customers. You're making a whole lot more money. And that's when it really, really became fun for me. So my only suggestion would be, whatever your tool belt is, expand it. Because again, this is an incredible opportunity we have. The next 90 days might be the most important 90 days of your career. And if you go into this with only one tool, man, you're leaving a lot of money, a lot of opportunity, a lot of fun on the table.
No, I love that. That's one thing I've been thinking about, is what a better time. There hasn't been a better time to just develop those new capabilities and develop those new resources, those new ideas, from the business standpoint, but obviously even, down to your personal and with your family, right? Like my wife and my son and my dog, we took a walk last night, right? Like, I mean, we're going to probably naturally do that anyway, but like, some of these things that are forcing you, that feel like they're forcing you to change, are actually, again, I'll go back to Tony Robbins, right? This is all happening for us, not to us, right? So this was like making it a great opportunity to like be together a little bit more and, you know, walk around the neighborhood or like you're saying, Kip, develop new capabilities, rethink what's working, what's not, where would you like to be? And let's get there now. Okay. So I'm going to try and stick pretty good to this hour thing. So we've got about a half hour left. I want to transition a little bit. Let's put our rehabber hat on. Okay. So a lot of us, well, one, I want to bring out, John Prince also had some good feedback here. If you guys know John, get to know John. He's a super smart dude and does a lot of things really, really good. So yeah, I agree with John. Your due diligence period, I think you're going to be able to get a bigger due diligence period on some deals, right? Especially if they're more complicated or longer deals. You're also maybe going to be able to get extensions if you need them. I think people are going to be a little bit more forgiving and give you a little bit more time if needed on deals. Okay, rehabber hat on. We'll kind of keep going in order. I have some thoughts about this, so I'll maybe bring up the rear on maybe tips for rehabbing. I've thought a lot about this. So Clay, I know you rehab houses as well, right? Like you're not just flipping. So and give me a scenario of one of your houses you have right now, or maybe you could just use one of mine. Like, so I just bought a property and I'm halfway through a bunch of other properties, right? Like, what is the best strategy now for rehabbers given the current situation with the properties you have now? This is maybe just basics, right? But like, I think going back to the basics is a good reminder for everybody right now.
Well, I think the hard part is that for a while we've been spoiled again by good market conditions, right? Where you didn't really have to think. You just did whatever and it would sell for whatever you wanted, right? So I think for us, I mean, I've always stuck to my numbers. I've always stuck to my processes. I've never compromised that because every time I do, I lose. So I would say stick to your processes. Don't freak out. Again, don't panic and just like, I got to get rid of all my flips right now. Again, I'm not saying the inverse. Don't sit on everything for too long, but just get them done, you know, put them on the market. Sure, it may take longer than you expected to sell. That's okay. You know, I remember back in, 2008, 2009 and 10 when we were flipping back then. And yeah, I mean, homes sat on the market. I'd have to beg buyers to make offers on my property, right?
Yeah.
So again, it kind of goes back to the mindset. You just kind of have to shift what you expect. But again, hopefully the flips that you have going now, you bought right. If you didn't buy right, then you may get shot in the foot. You know, I pass up on more deals than I buy, just because I won't compromise on my numbers. I won't compromise on my margins. A lot of investors do nowadays, and that's, especially where they're relying on other people to bring them deals, other wholesalers or things like that. They're saying, well, okay, I'll be fine making $5,000 on this flip. Well, good luck, Yeah. So I hope for those that are flipping right now that you bought right and that you didn't compromise on your margins and what you need to make. That's why I'm not afraid, because I mean, we've got, I think, 7 or 8 flips right now going, as well as all of our wholesale stuff. But yeah, I'm not worried. Even if the market were to adjust 20%, we'd still be fine, right? So you have to plan ahead in every market, right? And don't rely on the hope or the anticipation that, oh, the market will go up, so I'll pay a little more now. Again, I've just seen so many people lose their hats on stuff like that. So for me, it's hopefully you bought right, and hopefully you stick to your margins, and you can just, again, not panic, but finish out the project right. And I honestly don't see a need for, at least locally here in our market, I don't think we'll be hit as hard as others may if things do adjust. So.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So like, I still think demand is pretty high and supply is really low. I think even if you maybe bought wrong, you still can't panic, right? Like the worst thing you can do is leave a house unfinished. So with a finished house, you're going to have so many options. So like what I'm encouraging all my borrowers to do, what I'm encouraging obviously myself to do is, man, get better at your process of finishing these houses as efficiently as possible. Get them on the market. Have a finished product that you have options to do with, right? You could rent it, you could sell it, you could, sell it seller finance. You're going to be able to get creative. What you can't really do a lot with is a half finished house.
Yeah.
It's going to be discounted even more than it ever would be, I think, in today's market. I was talking with one of my investors, Tim. He's flipping a lot of homes in Reno. He also invests money with me. But he brought up an obvious thing, which I think we need to remember too, is we've all been riding this awesome wave, right? Of like your ARV estimate when you buy it's 300, you go to list it, it's 325, you sell it multiple offers for 335, right? So this has been fun. That's been awesome. And I hope it continues, but let's not get totally depressed and want to give up when we go to list it and we list it at 325 and we drop the price to 310 and then we're at 300 and it sells for 295. Like we got to have the perspective that, you know what, that's probably normal. We thought it was going to be a 300 ARV. We're not going to just forever, whether it's because of this, current situation or just, the market in general slowing down and demand and supply evening out. Like we've got to be realistic with and be okay with the reality of what things are selling for and not try and push the envelope, if it's not there. Like let's adjust prices and be realistic. And then I would much rather see, because I've flipped a lot of houses, but maybe I'm not that great of it. I've lost plenty of money on houses, even in good times. And so things are going to trip you up depending on how many houses you have going or, what your capabilities are, and communicate with your money partners, communicate with your contractors, communicate with your crews. Everyone I think needs to be positively, keeping these projects moving so that there's options when the home is finished. So we'll talk kind of maybe to conclude this part about maybe tips for listing your homes right now. But before we do that, Kip, let's regroup with you. I know you've seen a ton of rehabs in good and bad times. What would be some good tips for rehabbers that are purchased in the midst of flipping a house right now?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's hard to admit, but it's true. The only reason I survived 2008 is because I sucked at rehab.
Nice.
I woke up January 2007 paying 13 mortgages. And I looked at my wife and I said, I can't do this anymore. And whether they were finished, I just bought them. I did a fire sale because I was done with that. And I learned how to wholesale. I learned how to assign. But I was a home investor. I'm a home investors franchisee. We got 1,100 franchises across the country. And it's a wonderful data set because it's just like this, except there's 1,100 franchisees chiming in and telling you what works and what doesn't. Here's what I learned. You need to have balance. And that's particularly true in a challenging market. You want one house coming in, one house under repair, one house going out. That's the math. Now, if you want to do volume, have 3 houses coming in that you're about to close on, 3 houses under repair, 3 going out the door. You have to maintain that balance. And if you're rehab exclusive, you're taking a risk you don't need to take, because regardless of your resource level, you want to wholesale for cash flow. That's what we learned as a company in 2008. Cash flow was king. All right. The other thing I learned that I still use today is no matter what the market conditions, the best house at the best price is going to sell every time. I don't give a damn how bad the market goes. The best house at the best price will sell every time. So what I started doing was making sure I had the best house. In Kearns, for example, people put a coat of paint on a set of kitchen cabinets and blow it out in good times, right? I mean, they call that a rehab on the MLS. Well, in bad times, I'd put the new kitchen cabinets in. I'd spend 2, 3, 4% more than I otherwise would have to, but that house sold first time every time. Okay, I wouldn't raise the price. I'd make it competitive with the other actives. I mean, certainly not the highest, but when people walked in, it popped.
Yep.
Okay. I'd put my tile on the diagonal. I'd put a 3-headed shower head in the shower. I'd make my house 3 to 5% nicer than anybody else's and park it at the market. Okay. Not try to push the market, and it would sell. I mean, my hold time was like nothing. All right. And I had a significantly lower stress level because I had one coming in. I was working on one and one headed out the door. Plus I was wholesaling a lot on the side. So I always had cash. Plus I was listing stuff left and right.
Awesome.
So that's my advice for people on the rehab side of things. You have to have balance. You have to have multiple streams of income, at a minimum, some wholesales going on. And one last thing, Homevestors had 500 some franchises in 2008. And when it all shook out, there weren't 500 franchises. And one of the hardest lessons we learned was and look, it hasn't happened yet. I got clients all over the country. I look at the numbers on a weekly basis. Fidelity just reported Friday that the low end is on fire still nationally. There is a massive pent up demand for entry level homes all across the country. So the lesson there is this, and this is another thing that I've always followed in my career. I want to be buying stuff. I want to be trafficking in the market at about 70 to 90% of the median. Okay, because if you look at the pie of potential buyers, that's where more buyers live than in any other segment of the market. Now, I'm not going to do the big fancy Park City homes. I'm not going to pop stuff for 100 grand. I get that. All right. But if you stay in that sweet spot, your hold time is going to be less than 20 freaking days. You're going to make a ton of money and you're going to sleep at night. Yeah. So that's those, in great times, you can move above the median. I've done it a few times and it scares the hell out of me because if you get caught with some house that's worth $500,000, good luck. But I stayed out of that market, and 70 to 90% of the median. And if it does go sideways, and I have no numbers yet that indicate it has, okay, all my clients they're kicking ass. Okay. I don't have any data yet that says a downturn is here, but if that downturn comes, you gotta get out.
I love it.
That's all I got to offer on that.
No, and that is huge. But both of you just said that is so big. And my main takeaway, in addition to what Clay said, is Kip, don't just finish the house. Go a little extra effort, right? Make it pop even more than you normally would have. And with about 10 minutes left, we're going to kind of follow this process from like saying, how are you sourcing them? Wholesaling, now we're rehabbing them. Let's just drill down a little bit on tips and tricks for your listings. What are you going to do differently? I mean, I've thought a lot about this, so I'd like to get your guys' take, obviously, is, people may not be out and about as much, right? Like in a way, I think that vacant home would be really attractive because you don't have to deal with occupants in the home, right? Like it's a great opportunity to really highlight our flips, and it's going to be a safe place for people, to people to go visit. A couple things I'm doing this week on a house I'm listing on Kensington, and I kind of got this from Jason Lewis. I don't know if he's on the call. I want to have him on one of these because, in addition to Clay, I think Clay and Brian, I think he's, just a stellar wholesaler, but doing these Matterport 3D tours. Right? Like, let's just assume in a world where people can still buy houses without actually going to them. Let's do phenomenal photos. Let's do 3D tours. Let's do video walkthroughs. Let's make it flexible for the agents. If they aren't comfortable for the next few weeks showing houses, let's make arrangements so people can go through by themselves. Right? But let's still make things as available and easy to go through and see and to make offers on as possible. So those were just some, few things I was thinking of. Clay, any additional thoughts? Like you're listing a house, you have it listed, or you're an agent, like what opportunities are now there, do you think, that weren't there a week ago? Or, where do you need to readjust or retool when it comes to just simply listing in your presentation?
Yeah. I mean, some things I would share that, again, I think apply now, but always, and that we've always done is, our flips, we always capitalize on curb appeal. So again, I see a lot of investors that flip a home. The home looks amazing inside, and you go outside, it looks like crap, right? So we spend a little extra money, a few $100, plants, bark, whatever it is to make the house pop. Again, you want to appeal to, you got to think of your buyer. You want to have the wow factor. So when they pull up to that house, like, wow, this is amazing. I want this house, right? So you're trying to appeal to their emotional state. Again, we stage every home we flip, whether it's a low-end home, high-end home, doesn't matter. We stage it, we make it look good, we clean it really well, again, just doing things that are going to appeal to your buyer. So we stage every home. We always put fridges in all of our flips. A lot of investors don't do that. I just feel like it personally finishes the kitchen, makes it feel done. I'll spend the extra $1,000, but it helps us sell our homes quicker. So, curb appeal, staging, good photos. You kind of touched on it here with the 3D photos, but we hire a professional photographer to come through every house we do. I'm never taking the pictures myself, right? So again, just appealing as much as you can to make it look as good as you can is going to up your chances of selling that home. And whatever price range it is in, you want to be the nicest home compared to all the others, right? So for listings, that's kind of my big thing.
Someone comment here just through the text. If one other thing that I think would be kind of cool, I know there's virtual staging companies. I haven't ever done it, but virtual staging companies I think could be helpful too for people to visualize stuff if they're not actually able to go out or they're hesitant to go back in person or something like that. Kip, you're on it, man. What are some good ideas here for listing the home?
If it's not compelling, it's not selling. You got to have the best home at the best price. And I know this is cliche, but you can price it to sell or you can price it to sit. And I let my clients, and I coach my clients to let their clients make that decision about whether it's going to sit or whether it's going to sell. But Clay is spot on about staging everything you can do to make that home, that property look better, to make it the nicest home at the best price. You have to do it. But I tell you what, the market is still hot. I've seen no data that indicates that's changed. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the next time that this country experiences a 20% drop in values will be, I think, the third time in the history of America. The Great Depression, 2008, it's not going to happen. There might be a little bit of adjustment. And in that adjustment is massive opportunity. But what I don't remember about Utah was in 2008, prices were still going up. Vegas was in flames. Okay.
Yeah.
But prices in Utah were still going up. And what we're all going to have to get accustomed to if we're listing homes is this idea of the lag between the market and seller knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? They still think it's worth $300,000. I mean, that's what caused the short sale crisis. They're looking at part of what caused the short sale crisis. They're looking at Zillow and seeing a $350,000 value on their $275,000 house, and they just can't bridge that gap in their mind. So it's going to be a skills-based market. We've got to get more and more and more skills to bridge that gap, because if you can't have powerful, meaningful, influential conversations around these issues, if the market does change, you're not going to do very well.
Yeah. This is great. John Maxim, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to read John's because he's always got good input here. All the best on this call. Okay, let's address John's question to end here. So I'm going to read it out loud. It's in the chat, right? So guys, we are like 4 days into this really being a thing. All the best investors in our state are on this call. This group can offer some stronger tips than buy right, buy median. I mean, that's solid advice, but I've had 3 houses under contract cancel because they are afraid of losing their jobs. One buyer walked away from 10 grand earnest money. Should we just start dumping homes? Should we wait a couple of weeks? My lenders are freaking out. Are you telling them, don't get me wrong, this format is awesome, you guys are all better at this than me? Well, I mean, gosh, that's man, there's a lot there, John. I don't know if I have the answers. In a way, I think some of this is like, we all just need to pause for a couple weeks and not knee jerk, not overreact, and just really see where things will go, right? So John, I as well had, from a lending standpoint and from me selling some houses, I had stuff, go really sideways with, and I think Dallas is on here. Maybe he can comment in his, in the chat, but I had a loan go way south in a weird way Friday. I had a home that I was selling kind of like a wholesale, I guess, that canceled with 10 grand non-refundable on Monday. So what I did in those situations, and everyone's going to react differently, is I just went back to them and said, hey, what if we restructured this slightly different? Like, would you still be interested? And so the door hasn't closed completely, but I think we just need to be rethinking about ways to restructure, renegotiate. Some of it, John, might just be, we're just going to have to wait like a week or two for some of this panic and the initial gut punch to kind of leave, and to people feel like, you know, like there's still going to be options. Because I do agree with Kip and Clay in that the market's still strong. We may see a little bit of lag here for a few weeks, just because we're dealing with all these unknowns and new news coming out every day. So short term, it might be more volatile than what really the long term is going to look like. But, you know, I think it's just communication, talking with people. We're not going to change everybody's mind. But I noticed one of your posts is, John, I'm rambling, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kip and to Clay to finish this off. But just like you saw with your Airbnbs, that people canceled all of March and then they re-upped, right? And rebooked. Maybe it wasn't the same people, but different people to rebook your Airbnbs maybe a week or two after, because people had a chance to kind of like stop and pause and go, oh, maybe there's still opportunities to go travel or to go visit. And so I think those same things might be the case where somebody that, you know, has the financial capacity to buy right now and just realizes this is going to come and go, let's still go back into the market and buy. So some of those deals that fell out because of this knee jerk, I think they're going to come back. I think they're going to come back, and we just need to be a little patient. Clay?
Yeah, that would be my exact recommendation to John and everyone, and to myself, is, again, just take a breath, wait a second, right? Again, everyone wants to react and, you know, immediately to what's going on, but yeah, give it a month. Just give it a month before you make rash decisions, right? Because I guarantee, like I've done in the past, I look back and say, dang it, I should have just waited. Had I just waited, I would have been okay. And that doesn't always happen, but I see in this current circumstances that if you just wait it out a little bit, wait till everyone calms down and gets a grip on what's happening, that you'll be fine, right?
Awesome.
So even if a buyer backs out, don't worry about it. Just wait, you know, and things will pan out, I think, over the next month to 3 months. So that would be my advice.
Kip, any last words there?
Yeah, I've sold hundreds of homes. I've had 3 buyers back out in a week during good times.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, it's mindset. You know, part of what John wrote, and I understand this, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but if my lender's freaking out, he's not my lender. Right? I'm building a team here.
Yeah.
All right. And there, you know, in any given real estate transaction, if you're on the sales side, you got 15 people, maybe you don't even meet them, that have their fingers in your pie, who determine whether you win or lose this deal. So anytime I come across somebody, you know, when I was in Utah, I went through 5 title companies before I found Justin at Sutherland, and we could communicate and he understood what I wanted, you know, because I'm building a team here and I need to control what I can control. And I certainly can control the people that I work with. But it's mindset. We're going to be fine. And it's an amazing opportunity, just like 2008 was. I made more money in 2009, 2010 than I made in this business ever. Yeah. It was amazing. And so we have an adjustment. Great. You need to adjust. Next.
Awesome. Clay and Kip, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. I feel like we could do this for about 5 or 6 more hours, but I want to keep it to an hour. And then everybody that's joined on, leave comments. If we want to do another one of these, I think for me, it's been helpful. I don't necessarily need to be the one in charge of it or whatever, but I'm happy to do that. And I want to get, maybe we could switch up the panel or whatever and focus on something different, maybe with rentals or, raising money or, maybe a different little topic for the next one. So why don't you guys, I'll put it out on Facebook. I'll share this call. I'm also going to be reaching out to my borrowers, specifically, John and some other people. I'm trying to get creative with our investors to kind of help calm what's going on. Obviously our loans don't ever include payments to begin with. So, and then, we're going to suspend all extension fees if we would charge them. And I'm working on some other things. So what I want my borrowers is communicate with me, talk to me. Let's work on this together. If you do need additional money to finish it, we may or may not have the capacity, just depending on how much people need. But my goal is to get all these houses finished. We need to get them up for sale. You know, the market's going to be there. And, you know, kind of a final thought is I think it's the best time ever to have houses you're working on because it might be a little slow to sell them. So how awesome is it that we can just focus on jamming out and knocking out these houses so that, you know, they'll be ready to sell really whenever, because I don't believe in timing anything. You just gotta go when you can go. But it's especially going to be awesome if you have a house you're just starting on and it might be ready towards the middle of the end of summer. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. Give me some feedback if you guys want to see more of these and or specifically what topics and maybe who you'd like to have on. I'm already kind of thinking maybe I'll throw one of these back up for Thursday, like a luncheon on Thursday or something like that, and kind of go from there. I'm going to share my resources in a link, and let's all keep getting better together. So Clay, Kip, thanks guys. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Good job, Matt.
Hey, thanks guys.
Catch you later, brother.
Okay, take it easy. Hey, come here for a minute. Do you know how can I, maybe this is all saved. How do I copy this? I want to be able to post like all of the, and I guess it naturally will be when I redo the call, right?
I don't know if it saves the group chat in the recording. I would maybe ask Chelsea.
Maybe this will
maybe
work.
Just do that for now and then see if when you
I forgot to tell everybody why I was calling it Keeping the Dream Alive.
maybe when you go back to just kind of look at the recording for a minute, see if it
There we go.
if it saves the group chat in the recording, then you could access it that way.
Yeah.